He who cannot obey himself will be commanded. Friedrich Nietzsche, they tell you that no man is an island, that you need others to survive, that strength lies in numbers. This is a lie whispered by the weak to keep the strong compliant. Observe, the herd offers comfort, but it also invites the butcher. The lone wolf starves at times, but he chooses his own path, answers to no one, and is never led to slaughter. The truth is stark. To truly master your fate, you must be willing to stand alone, to sever the ties that bind you to mediocrity. The world rewards the individual, the one who dares to deviate from the prescribed path, not the faceless member of a collective. Consider the artist, toiling in solitude to create a masterpiece. He doesn't seek validation from focus groups or conform to popular trends. He draws from the depths of his own being, a solitary act of creation. He risks ridicule, misunderstanding, even failure, but he remains true to his vision. It is this unwavering commitment, this willingness to stand apart, that ultimately defines his success. Or the inventor, hunched over his workbench, wrestling with a complex problem. He doesn't rely on committees or consensus building. He experiments, he fails, he persists, driven by an inner fire that burns brightest in the darkness of isolation. He understands that true innovation comes from challenging the status quo, a task rarely accomplished in the company of others. The pressure to conform is immense. Society bombards you with messages about the importance of fitting in, of being a team player, of sacrificing your individuality for the greater good. But behind this rhetoric lies a hidden agenda, to maintain control, to suppress dissent, to keep you in your place. Those who benefit from the existing power structure have a vested interest in discouraging independent thought and action. They fear the individual who questions their authority, who refuses to be manipulated, who charts his own course. To stand alone is an act of rebellion, a declaration of independence from the tyranny of the crowd. This doesn't mean you must become a hermit, devoid of all human connection. Relationships are essential, but they must be chosen carefully, cultivated with intention, and maintained on your own terms. Surround yourself with individuals who challenge you, who inspire you, who support your growth, but never allow them to define you. Remember, your primary allegiance is to yourself, to your own potential, to your own destiny. Learn to discern the difference between genuine connection and manipulative dependence. The former empowers you, the latter enslaves you. The ability to stand alone is not merely a matter of choice. It is a skill that must be developed, a muscle that must be strengthened. It requires self-reliance, resilience, and an unwavering belief in your own capabilities. Learn to trust your instincts, to make decisions based on your own judgment, to navigate the world without relying on the crutches of approval or validation. Embrace discomfort, seek out challenges, and push yourself beyond your perceived limits. Each time you overcome an obstacle on your own, you reinforce your self-confidence and solidify your independence. Consider the chess player studying his opponent, analyzing the board, calculating his moves. He is alone in his thoughts, responsible for his every decision. He cannot rely on the advice of others. He must trust his own intellect, his own intuition. Every game is a test of his mental fortitude, a crucible in which his strategic thinking is refined. The victories he achieves are his alone, earned through his own skill and determination. And even in defeat, he learns valuable lessons that will serve him in future battles. This is the essence of self-mastery, to take complete ownership of your actions and their consequences, to accept responsibility for your successes and failures, to learn from your mistakes and emerge stronger than before. The path of the lone wolf is not easy. It is fraught with challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But it is also a path of unparalleled freedom, autonomy, and self-discovery. It is a path that leads to true mastery, to the realization of your full potential, to the fulfillment of your ultimate destiny. Embrace the solitude, cultivate your inner strength, and dare to stand alone. The world is waiting for you. They will call you arrogant, selfish, and antisocial. They will try to shame you into conforming, to guilt you into submission. They will tell you that you cannot succeed on your own, that you need their help, their guidance, their approval. Ignore them. Their words are empty, their motives suspect. They are simply projecting their own insecurities, their own limitations onto you. Remember, the greatest achievements in history have been accomplished by individuals who dared to defy convention, who dared to challenge the status quo, who dared to stand alone. The world is full of sheep, blindly following the herd, bleeding for acceptance and approval. But there are also wolves, prowling in the shadows, observing, strategizing, waiting for their opportunity. The wolves are the ones who shape the world, who drive innovation, who seize power. Which will you choose to be? The choice is yours, but choose wisely, for your future depends on it. The ability to stand alone is not just a virtue. It is a necessity for survival in a world that rewards strength, cunning, and independence. The psychological burden of standing alone is immense. It requires a constant battle against the ingrained human desire for belonging, for validation from the group. Society programs us from birth to seek approval, to fit in, to avoid being ostracized. To consciously reject this programming is to wage war against your own instincts, to dismantle the foundations of your social conditioning. It demands a profound understanding of your own psychology, an awareness of your vulnerabilities, and a ruthless commitment to self-mastery. You must become your own psychologist, your own mentor, your own harshest critic. The temptation to seek solace in the crowd will be ever present, a siren song luring you towards the comforting illusion of security. Resisting this temptation requires unwavering self-belief, a deep-seated conviction in your own capabilities, and an unshakable commitment to your chosen path. The mind is a battlefield, and your thoughts are your weapons. Negative thoughts, self-doubt, and fear will constantly assail you, attempting to undermine your resolve. You must learn to identify these thoughts, to disarm them, and to replace them with positive affirmations, with visualizations of success, with unwavering belief in your own potential. This is not mere positive thinking. It is a conscious act of mental warfare, a strategic defense against the forces that seek to hold you back. The lone wolf cultivates a fortress of the mind, a sanctuary of inner strength that cannot be breached by the negativity of the outside world. This fortress is built on the foundations of discipline, self-awareness, and unwavering self-belief. Furthermore, standing alone necessitates a radical shift in perspective regarding failure. The herd fears failure above all else, for failure signifies rejection, ostracism, and a loss of status within the group. The lone wolf, however, embraces failure as a valuable learning opportunity, a necessary stepping stone on the path to mastery. Each setback is analyzed, dissected, and understood, then used to refine strategy and strengthen resolve. Failure is not an ending. It is a redirection, a chance to learn, to adapt, to grow stronger. The lone wolf understands that true progress is rarely linear. It is a process of constant experimentation, adaptation, and refinement. This resilience, this ability to bounce back from adversity, is a crucial component of the lone wolf's psychological armor. Consider the chess player who studies their lost games with more intensity than their victories. They understand that the mistakes, the miscalculations, the moments of weakness are the most valuable lessons. They dissect each move, analyze each decision, and identify the flaws in their strategy. This relentless pursuit of self-improvement is the hallmark of the lone wolf mentality. There is no room for complacency, no room for self-pity, only a constant drive to become better, stronger, more capable. This internal drive, this relentless pursuit of excellence, is what separates the lone wolf from the pack. The ability to detach emotionally is also paramount. The herd is driven by emotion, by fear, by anger, by the need for validation. The lone wolf, however, cultivates a detached, objective perspective, analyzing situations with cold, clinical precision. Emotions can cloud judgment, impair decision-making, and lead to impulsive actions. The lone wolf learns to control their emotions, to use them as tools rather than being controlled by them. This emotional detachment allows for clear thinking, strategic planning, and decisive action, even in the face of intense pressure. Imagine a surgeon operating on a patient with a life-threatening condition. They cannot afford to be overwhelmed by emotion, by fear, or by self-doubt. They must remain calm, focused, and objective, relying on their knowledge, their skill, and their experience to guide their actions. This same level of emotional control is required for the lone wolf, who must navigate a complex and often hostile world with clarity and precision. The capacity for strategic detachment is not a sign of coldness or indifference. It is a necessary tool for survival and success. Standing alone also demands a constant awareness of your surroundings, a heightened sense of observation. The herd moves blindly, oblivious to the subtle cues and hidden dangers that surround them. The lone wolf, however, is constantly scanning the environment, analyzing the behavior of others, and anticipating potential threats. This heightened awareness allows for proactive planning, strategic positioning, and the ability to exploit opportunities that others miss. It is the difference between being a predator and being prey. Picture a hunter in the wilderness, silently stalking their quarry. They are acutely aware of every sound, every movement, every change in the wind. They use their senses to gather information, to anticipate the animal's movements, and to position themselves for the kill. This same level of awareness is required for the lone wolf, who must navigate the complex social and political landscapes of the human world. The ability to observe, to analyze, and to anticipate is a crucial advantage in a world that rewards cunning and strategic thinking. The lone wolf understands that information is power, and they are constantly seeking to gather as much information as possible. Ultimately, the psychology of standing alone is about cultivating a sovereign mind, a mind that is independent, resilient, and self-reliant. It is about rejecting the limitations imposed by society, by fear, and by self-doubt. It is about embracing the freedom, the autonomy, and the potential that lies within each individual. It is a path of constant self-improvement, of relentless self-mastery, and of unwavering commitment to your chosen path. The journey is not easy, but the rewards are immeasurable. The ability to stand alone is the foundation of true power, true freedom, and true fulfillment. The executive walks into the boardroom, not the CEO, not yet, but he's positioned himself. Years of calculated moves, late nights studying the market, early mornings building alliances. He's isolated himself from office gossip, from the comforting narratives of the water cooler. He's friendly but not a friend, helpful but not a confidant. He offers solutions, not complaints. He delivers results, not excuses. He's watched his colleagues rise and fall, their careers often derailed by alliances formed on sentimentality, by loyalty misplaced on the incompetent. He learned from their mistakes. He learned the hard way that in the corporate jungle, sentimentality is a liability. He sees the game for what it is, a constant struggle for resources, for recognition, for power. The faces around the table are masked with politeness, but he sees the ambition simmering beneath the surface, the subtle competition for airtime, for the attention of the senior partners. He understands their motives because he shares them, but his are tempered with a long-term vision, a strategic patience that eludes most of his peers. He observes the CEO, a man nearing retirement, a man who has grown complacent, surrounded by yes-men and sycophants. The executive has anticipated this weakness, has prepared for this moment. He has quietly cultivated relationships with key stakeholders, both inside and outside the company. He has demonstrated his competence, his loyalty to the company's bottom line, not to any individual. He understands that the CEO's time is limited, that the company needs a new direction, a new leader. He doesn't overtly campaign for the position. That would be a sign of weakness, of desperation. Instead, he allows his actions to speak for themselves. He presents innovative ideas, backed by data and rigorous analysis. He anticipates problems and offers solutions before they are even recognized by others. He subtly highlights the CEO's shortcomings, not through direct criticism, but through the quiet efficiency of his own performance. He understands that power is not given, it is taken. It is earned through competence, through strategic thinking, through a willingness to stand alone, to make unpopular decisions, to bear the weight of responsibility. He knows that the path to the top is a solitary one, that it requires sacrificing personal relationships, foregoing immediate gratification, enduring the envy and resentment of others. He's accepted this cost. The boardroom meeting continues, a ritualistic dance of power and influence. He remains calm, collected, observant. He listens more than he speaks, allowing others to reveal their vulnerabilities, their weaknesses. He stores this information, knowing that it may be valuable in the future. He is a master of delayed gratification, willing to wait for the opportune moment to strike with precision and decisiveness. He understands that patience is a weapon, that the ability to control one's impulses is a sign of strength. He leaves the meeting unnoticed, perhaps even underestimated, but he knows his time is coming. He has positioned himself, he has prepared himself, he has isolated himself. He is ready to seize the opportunity when it presents itself. He understands the nature of the game, the ruthless calculus of corporate power. He's accepted that to rise to the top, a man must often stand alone. His path demanded it. Every promotion, every calculated decision, every subtle maneuver has reinforced this understanding. The higher he climbs, the fewer genuine peers he encounters. The air thins. The expectations multiply. The weight of responsibility becomes almost unbearable. He finds himself increasingly detached, observing the machinations of others with a clinical detachment. Their petty squabbles, their emotional outbursts, their desperate attempts to curry favor seem almost comical from his vantage point. He has transcended their level of play. He operates on a different plane, focused on long-term strategy, on anticipating future trends, on positioning the company for continued success. This isolation is not a source of sadness or regret. It is simply a consequence of his ambition, his competence, his unwavering commitment to his goals. He understands that true leadership requires the ability to make difficult decisions, to stand against the crowd, to bear the burden of responsibility without seeking validation or approval. He has learned to trust his own judgment, to rely on his own instincts, to navigate the complex landscape of corporate power without the need for constant reassurance or support. This self-reliance is not arrogance. It is simply a recognition of the reality that ultimately every leader must stand alone. The company is not a family. It is a battlefield. The executive understands the stakes. He prepares accordingly. He sharpens his mind, his strategy, his defenses. He distances himself from distractions, from emotional entanglements, from anything that could compromise his focus. He learns to thrive in the solitude of leadership. He finds strength in his independence, clarity in his isolation, power in his self-reliance. He becomes the lone wolf, the apex predator, the master of his own destiny. He knows that the road ahead will be challenging, that there will be setbacks and obstacles, but he is prepared to face them alone. He has cultivated the resilience, the discipline, and the unwavering self-belief necessary to overcome any adversity. He is a survivor. He is a leader. He is alone. The trap lies in believing that strength resides in numbers, in the comforting illusion of shared responsibility. The weak seek validation in echo chambers, mistaking agreement for truth. They huddle together, reinforcing their biases and fears, creating a self-imposed prison of mediocrity. They crave the approval of the herd, sacrificing their individuality and their potential for greatness on the altar of conformity. Their decisions are driven by consensus, watered down by compromise, and ultimately ineffective. They are afraid to stand out, to take risks, to challenge the status quo. They prefer the safety of the familiar, the predictability of the routine, the comfort of the shared delusion. They mistake popularity for power, confusing the fleeting affection of the masses with genuine respect. Their leadership is a popularity contest, a constant struggle to maintain their approval ratings, a desperate attempt to avoid criticism. They are slaves to public opinion, puppets of the media, prisoners of their own insecurities. They are easily manipulated by those who understand their weaknesses, their need for validation, their fear of rejection. They are pawns in a game they do not understand, destined to be exploited and discarded. They fail to grasp that true strength comes from within, from the unwavering conviction in one's own beliefs, from the courage to stand alone against the tide. They are addicted to the illusion of security, blind to the reality that true security lies in self-reliance, in the ability to navigate the world independently, in the willingness to accept responsibility for one's own actions. They cling to the false promise of teamwork, failing to recognize that true collaboration requires individuals who are capable of independent thought and action. They seek comfort in the crowd, losing themselves in the anonymity of the collective, sacrificing their individuality and their potential for greatness. They are afraid to be different, to be unique, to be themselves. They prefer to blend in, to conform, to disappear into the background. They are masters of imitation, but they lack the spark of originality, the fire of innovation, the courage to create. They are followers, not leaders, destined to be forever directed by the will of others. They are victims of their own weakness, trapped in a cycle of mediocrity and dependence. They mistake comfort for happiness, security for freedom, approval for respect. They are slaves to their own desires, driven by their fears, consumed by their insecurities. They are incapable of independent thought, unable to make difficult decisions, unwilling to accept responsibility. They are the weak, and they will always be exploited by the strong. Their reliance on others becomes their undoing, a vulnerability that is easily exploited by those who understand the dynamics of power. They seek safety in numbers, but find only weakness and ultimately destruction. The pack is only as strong as its weakest member, and the weak will always drag the strong down. True strength lies not in the size of the group, but in the resilience and competence of the individual. The weak fail to cultivate this inner strength, preferring to rely on the support of others, a crutch that ultimately cripples them. They are like vines, clinging to stronger trees for support, unable to stand on their own. When the tree falls, the vine is left to wither and die. They never learn to cultivate their own roots, to draw sustenance from within, to stand tall against the storms of life. They are forever dependent, forever vulnerable, forever destined to be exploited. They seek validation in the eyes of others, never learning to trust their own judgment, never developing the self-confidence necessary to succeed. They are like mirrors, reflecting the opinions and beliefs of those around them, lacking any original thought or perspective. They are easily swayed by the winds of popular opinion, never developing the inner compass necessary to navigate the complexities of life. They are lost in the crowd, adrift at sea, without a rudder or a sail. They are victims of their own insecurities, trapped in a prison of their own making. They are the weak, and their weakness will be their downfall. The path of the sovereign man is, by necessity, a solitary one. He does not seek isolation for its own sake, but recognizes it as the inevitable consequence of his commitment to truth and self-reliance. He understands that the majority of people are driven by emotion, by fear, by the need for validation, and that these forces often lead them to make irrational decisions and embrace comforting lies. To align himself with such individuals is to compromise his own integrity and to surrender his own agency. He observes the world with a clear and dispassionate eye, unclouded by sentiment or ideology. He sees the flaws and weaknesses of others, not with malice, but with a strategic understanding. He knows that these flaws can be exploited, but he chooses to rise above such tactics, preferring to focus on his own development and to maintain his own moral compass. He does not judge others, but he does not allow their failings to influence his own actions. He understands that the world is a dangerous place, full of predators and deceivers, and that the only way to survive is to be strong, intelligent, and self-sufficient. He cultivates these qualities within himself, becoming a fortress of resilience and competence. He is not afraid to stand alone, to hold unpopular opinions, or to challenge the status quo. He knows that true strength lies not in conformity, but in the unwavering pursuit of truth and the unwavering commitment to one's own principles. He builds his life on a foundation of self-knowledge, self-discipline, and self-respect. He understands his own strengths and weaknesses, and he uses this knowledge to his advantage. He is not arrogant or boastful, but he possesses a quiet confidence that comes from knowing his own worth. He does not need the approval of others to validate his existence. He finds his validation within himself, in the knowledge that he is living his life according to his own values. He is the master of his own destiny, the captain of his own ship. He charts his own course, unswayed by the winds of popular opinion or the siren song of conformity. He faces the storms of life with courage and determination, knowing that he has the strength and resilience to overcome any obstacle. He is not immune to fear or doubt, but he does not allow these emotions to control him. He acknowledges them, learns from them, and moves forward with unwavering resolve. He understands that failure is inevitable, but he does not allow it to discourage him. He learns from his mistakes and uses them as stepping stones to success. He is a lifelong learner, constantly seeking to improve himself and to expand his knowledge. He reads voraciously, studies history, observes human behavior, and seeks out mentors who can guide him on his path. He is not afraid to challenge his own beliefs, to question his own assumptions, and to adapt to changing circumstances. He is flexible and adaptable, like a reed in the wind, bending but never breaking. He is a survivor, a strategist, a sovereign individual. He understands that the world is a game, and he plays it with skill, cunning, and a deep understanding of human nature. He does not seek to dominate or control others, but he will not allow himself to be dominated or controlled. He is a force to be reckoned with, a silent power that commands respect and attention. He is the man who stands alone, the man who carves his own path, the man who shapes his own destiny. His isolation is not a weakness but a source of strength. It allows him to think clearly, to act decisively, and to remain true to himself, even in the face of adversity. He is the embodiment of self-reliance, the epitome of competence, the sovereign individual who reigns supreme over his own life. He understands the necessity of solitude, not as an escape from the world, but as a crucible for forging the self. It is in these moments of quiet reflection that he gains clarity, strengthens his resolve, and prepares himself for the challenges ahead. The world seeks to impose its will upon him, to mold him into its own image, but he resists this pressure with unwavering determination. He understands that true freedom lies not in conforming to the expectations of others, but in remaining true to one's own inner compass. He cultivates his own values, defines his own goals, and pursues them with relentless focus. He is not swayed by the opinions of the crowd, nor by the temptations of fleeting pleasures. He remains steadfast in his commitment to excellence, to integrity, and to the pursuit of his own unique purpose. He is a beacon of self-reliance in a world of dependence, a testament to the power of the individual spirit. He understands that the greatest battles are fought not on the battlefield, but within the mind. He wages a constant war against his own weaknesses, his own fears, and his own self-doubt. He strives to become the best version of himself, to overcome his limitations, and to reach his full potential. He is a warrior of the mind, a master of his own thoughts and emotions. He does not allow himself to be controlled by external forces, but maintains a firm grip on his own destiny. He is the architect of his own life, the builder of his own future. He is the sovereign man, the master of his own domain, the embodiment of self-reliance and unwavering strength. The solitude he embraces is not born of loneliness, but of a conscious choice to prioritize self-mastery and strategic independence. He understands that true power resides not in the accumulation of wealth or the control of others, but in the cultivation of inner resilience and the unwavering commitment to one's own principles. He observes the world with a detached curiosity, analyzing its patterns and understanding its underlying dynamics. He is a student of human nature, keenly aware of the motivations and vulnerabilities of those around him. He uses this knowledge not to manipulate or exploit, but to protect himself and to navigate the complex social landscape with skill and precision. He is a strategist, a tactician, a master of the game. He understands that every action has a consequence, and he plans his moves carefully, always anticipating the reactions of his opponents. He is patient, persistent, and unwavering in his pursuit of his goals. He does not seek instant gratification, but is willing to endure hardship and sacrifice in order to achieve long-term success. He is a long-term thinker, always looking ahead, anticipating future challenges and preparing for them in advance. He is a survivor, a strategist, a sovereign individual who carves his own path through the world with unwavering determination and unyielding self-reliance. He is the embodiment of inner strength, a testament to the power of the individual spirit, and a beacon of hope for those who seek to break free from the shackles of conformity and embrace the path of self-mastery. Consider the Roman general Marius, stripped of command, hunted by Sulla, a fugitive in the marshes. His legions were scattered, his allies broken, his name synonymous with defeat. He had stood at the pinnacle of power, a 7-time consul, the savior of Rome from the barbarian hordes. Yet in a moment it was all gone. He understood, perhaps then more acutely than ever before, the ephemeral nature of external support. The cheering crowds, the loyal legions, the senatorial decrees, all vanished like mist in the face of a determined enemy. Marius, alone and betrayed, found refuge not in pleas for mercy or alliances with desperate men, but in the cold, hard reality of his own will to survive. He did not lament his fallen glory. He calculated his next move. He assessed his remaining resources, which amounted to little more than his own cunning and a burning desire for retribution. He bided his time, observing the political landscape, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. He understood that reliance on others, even those who had sworn loyalty, was a dangerous game. He had witnessed firsthand the fickle nature of power, the ease with which allegiances could shift, the brutal efficiency of betrayal. He had seen men who had once groveled at his feet turn against him without a moment's hesitation. In those dark hours, hunted and alone, Marius forged a new understanding of self-reliance. He recognized that true power resided not in the trappings of office or the strength of armies, but in the unwavering commitment to one's own survival and the ability to adapt to any circumstance. He cultivated a steely resolve, a ruthless pragmatism that allowed him to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. He transformed himself from a celebrated general into a lone wolf, a predator patiently stalking his prey. He honed his instincts, sharpened his mind, and prepared himself for the inevitable return. He emerged from the shadows not as a supplicant begging for forgiveness, but as a force of nature, ready to reclaim what he believed was rightfully his. He understood that his survival, his triumph, depended entirely on his own actions, his own strength, his own unwavering will. His story is a brutal testament to the necessity of standing alone, of cultivating inner resilience in the face of adversity, of relying on one's own capabilities when all other support has crumbled away. His example is not one of blind aggression or reckless ambition, but of strategic independence, of calculated self-preservation, of the unwavering pursuit of one's goals in the face of overwhelming opposition. The empire crumbles, the war ends. What remains is the man who understands that his fate is his own creation. The psychology of standing alone is not merely about physical isolation. It's a fundamental shift in perspective, a deliberate severing of emotional dependencies. It is the understanding that external validation is a fleeting illusion, a dangerous addiction that can cripple one's ability to act decisively. Men who seek constant reassurance, who define their worth through the approval of others, become puppets dancing to the tune of societal expectations. They are easily manipulated, their actions predictable, their potential for greatness suffocated by the need to conform. The sovereign man, in contrast, cultivates an inner compass, a set of personal values that guide his actions irrespective of external pressures. He understands that criticism is inevitable, that envy is a constant companion, and that attempts to undermine his progress are simply the price of ambition. He learns to filter out the noise, to discern genuine feedback from malicious intent, and to remain steadfast in his pursuit of his goals. This requires a profound level of self-awareness, an unflinching examination of one's own strengths and weaknesses. It means acknowledging one's limitations without succumbing to self-doubt and leveraging one's capabilities to overcome obstacles. The man who stands alone does not delude himself with fantasies of invincibility. He recognizes his vulnerabilities, but he refuses to allow them to define him. He understands that fear is a natural emotion, but he does not allow it to paralyze him. He confronts his fears head-on, using them as fuel for his ambition. He views challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to test his mettle and refine his skills. The capacity to endure solitude is a crucible in which character is forged. It is in those moments of quiet contemplation, stripped bare of external distractions, that a man confronts his true self. He grapples with his doubts, confronts his demons, and emerges stronger, more resilient, more focused. He learns to rely on his own judgment, to trust his own instincts, and to make decisions without seeking permission from others. This is not to say that he rejects all forms of collaboration or mentorship. He understands the value of surrounding himself with competent individuals who share his vision. However, he never relinquishes control of his own destiny. He remains the architect of his own fate, the master of his own ship. The path of the lone wolf is not for the faint of heart. It requires a willingness to endure hardship, to face adversity without flinching, and to accept the consequences of one's actions. It demands a level of mental fortitude that few possess, but for those who are willing to embrace the challenge, the rewards are immeasurable. The man who stands alone achieves a level of independence, of self-mastery, that is simply unattainable for those who cling to the safety of the herd. He becomes a force to be reckoned with, a leader who inspires through his actions, a sovereign who commands respect through his unwavering resolve. He understands that true power lies not in controlling others, but in controlling himself. He understands that the greatest victory is not the conquest of external enemies, but the conquest of his own inner demons. He understands that the ultimate freedom is the freedom from the need for external validation. Consider the case of Michael Ovitz, once the most powerful man in Hollywood. For decades, he reigned supreme as the head of Creative Artists Agency, an empire built on talent and influence. Ovitz possessed an almost preternatural ability to anticipate the needs of his clients, to negotiate deals that seemed impossible, and to manipulate the complex web of relationships that defined the entertainment industry. He was a master strategist, a ruthless negotiator, and a force of nature. His success was not merely a product of hard work and dedication. It was a result of his willingness to stand apart from the crowd, to defy conventional wisdom, and to make decisions that others were too afraid to contemplate. He understood that in the world of Hollywood, loyalty was a fleeting commodity, and that true power resided in the ability to control information and access. He cultivated a network of informants who provided him with invaluable insights into the desires and vulnerabilities of his rivals. He used this knowledge to his advantage, subtly manipulating events to his benefit and always maintaining the upper hand. Ovitz's reign was marked by a series of audacious power plays, each more daring than the last. He poached top talent from rival agencies, negotiated unprecedented compensation packages for his clients, and brokered deals that reshaped the landscape of the entertainment industry. He was feared and admired in equal measure, but his ambition eventually proved to be his undoing. In the mid-1990s, Ovitz set his sights on a new challenge: the Walt Disney Company. He saw an opportunity to leverage his influence and expertise to transform the struggling entertainment giant. He convinced Michael Eisner, the CEO of Disney, to hire him as president. The move was met with skepticism from many within the company, who questioned whether Ovitz's brash, confrontational style would be a good fit for Disney's more collaborative culture. Ovitz quickly discovered that he had underestimated the complexities of the corporate world. He found himself embroiled in internal power struggles, stifled by bureaucratic processes, and unable to exert the same level of control that he had enjoyed at CAA. He clashed with Eisner, who felt threatened by Ovitz's ambition and resented his attempts to assert his authority. The relationship between the two men deteriorated rapidly, culminating in Ovitz's abrupt departure from Disney after just 14 months. The failure at Disney was a devastating blow to Ovitz's reputation. He had gone from being the most powerful man in Hollywood to a pariah, shunned by many of his former allies and clients. He struggled to rebuild his career, launching a series of ill-fated ventures that failed to recapture the magic of his CAA days. Ovitz's story serves as a cautionary tale about the perils of hubris and the importance of adaptability. He was a man who excelled at standing alone, at charting his own course, and at defying conventional wisdom. But his inability to adjust to a new environment, his unwavering belief in his own infallibility, ultimately led to his downfall. The lesson to be learned from Ovitz's experience is not that standing alone is inherently wrong, but that it must be tempered with humility, with a willingness to learn from others, and with the understanding that even the most powerful individuals are not immune to the forces of fate. A man must assess the landscape correctly, not just assume his superiority. He needs the ability to maneuver, not just bulldoze. The Ovitz example shows that exceptional talent can be undermined by a failure to read the room and adjust accordingly. True strength is not just about individual prowess, it's about strategic adaptation and situational awareness. He forgot the most basic lesson, to observe and adapt, assuming that his talent alone would be enough. This is the danger of believing in your own legend. It makes you blind to the changing realities around you. The world does not care about your past accomplishments. It only cares about your present capabilities. And if you are unable to adapt, you will be left behind, no matter how great you once were. He mistook brilliance for invincibility, and that was his fatal flaw. The ability to stand alone, therefore, is not a virtue in itself, but a tool, a scalpel. It can carve a path to unprecedented heights, or it can bleed you dry in the wilderness. Its effectiveness depends entirely on the wielder's skill and the environment in which it is used. A man who isolates himself out of arrogance, who refuses counsel and believes only in his own vision, is a fool marching towards his own demise. He mistakes self-reliance for omnipotence, a common and fatal error. The true value of standing alone lies in its ability to foster independent thought, to resist the pressures of conformity, and to forge a path that is uniquely your own. It is about having the courage to question established norms, to challenge the status quo, and to pursue your vision with unwavering conviction, even when everyone else doubts you. But this strength must be tempered with wisdom. A lone wolf who cannot hunt will starve. A solitary tree that cannot bend will break. A man must be capable of introspection, of acknowledging his own limitations, and of seeking knowledge and guidance from those who possess it. He must understand that true strength lies not in denying his vulnerabilities, but in confronting them and learning from them. He must be a master of self-assessment, constantly evaluating his strengths and weaknesses, and adjusting his course accordingly. This requires a level of intellectual honesty that is rare and often painful. It means admitting when you are wrong, seeking feedback from others, and being willing to change your mind in the face of new evidence. It means understanding that your perspective is always limited and that there is always more to learn. The danger lies in mistaking solitude for superiority. A man who isolates himself from genuine connection, who builds walls around his heart and mind, becomes brittle and detached from reality. He loses the ability to empathize with others, to understand their motivations, and to anticipate their actions. He becomes trapped in his own echo chamber, surrounded by those who reinforce his beliefs and insulate him from dissenting opinions. This isolation breeds arrogance and distorts perception, leading to poor decisions and ultimately to failure. The ability to stand alone is not about rejecting all human connection. It is about cultivating the strength to remain true to yourself, even in the face of immense pressure. It is about having the courage to walk away from toxic relationships, to resist the allure of groupthink, and to make decisions that are aligned with your values, regardless of the consequences. but it also requires the ability to build meaningful relationships with those who are worthy of your trust, to seek counsel from those who possess wisdom, and to collaborate with others towards a common goal. A man who can stand alone but chooses to connect is a force to be reckoned with. He possesses the inner strength to navigate the world on his own terms, but he also understands the power of collaboration and the importance of human connection. He is a leader who inspires loyalty, a strategist who anticipates his opponent's moves, and a visionary who shapes the future. A man must cultivate the inner strength to stand apart from the crowd, to resist the temptation of conformity, and to forge his own path, even when it is difficult. He must be willing to challenge the status quo, to question established norms, and to pursue his vision with unwavering conviction. But he must also recognize the limitations of his own perspective, to seek counsel from those who possess wisdom, and to remain open to new ideas and perspectives. He must be a master of self-awareness, constantly evaluating his strengths and weaknesses and adjusting his course accordingly. Only then can he truly harness the power of standing alone and achieve